Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the Dubois versus Parker breakdown and prediction video, as Daniel Dubois, the reigning IBF heavyweight champion of the world, is set to make the second defense of his championship when he battles former WBO champion and current WBO interim champion Joseph Parker. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So this fight is set to take place on as the co-feature of the monster Riyadh season February 22nd DAZN pay-per-view card that is headlined by the Beterbiev versus Bivol 2, the last crescendo card that is taking place in the main event. That'll be for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. But this fight being a co-feature on top of the best fight card I've ever seen put together, top to bottom, it just, it just really shows you how monstrous this whole card is and how big of a fight this is. Now, if you haven't seen my breakdown videos before, basically what I do is break the fight down in detail. In a title fight like this, I will first, I'll discuss the fight, what it means, then I'll get into each fighter, asking the same questions on both sides. Title fight like this, you have a champion and a challenger. We discuss the champion first, then we move over to the challenger. At the end of the video, I will do one final question, and then I will give my prediction on the fight. So let's jump right into it. Let's start with, what's at stake here for both of these guys. And, obviously the IBF heavyweight title is on the line here. So, that's the fourth belt in the division. And what I believe is on the line is the winner has a clear crack at Alexander Usyk to go for undisputed. Usyk won last year undisputed when he defeated Tyson Fury, and he gave up the IBF belt, and Dubois, who had just become the IBF interim champion when he stopped Filip Hrgović, was upgraded to full champion, and defeated Anthony Joshua to solidify that. So, the IBF title at stake, and again, I really believe the winner is going to be able to fight Usyk for undisputed, because Dubois has fought him already, but he has been red hot since that fight. Plus, there was a controversy of that fifth round knockdown that took place, that was scored a low blow originally. And even though Dubois went on to get stopped by Usyk, there was that little bit of controversy there, so I think that's significant. And then you got Joseph Parker as a guy that Usyk has never fought. So, I think if Parker were to pull off the victory here in this one, then Usyk would definitely want to fight him, especially with undisputed on the line. So, again, this is a monster fight in the heavyweight division. It's the battle between 3 and 4. I know Tyson Fury has now officially been dropped from all the governing bodies' rankings. As of now, I still have Tyson Fury ranked. I don't believe the retirement is going to hold, but you never know. But, essentially the winner of this fight will be number 2. Will have completely earned the number 2 spot across the board. And I believe Usyk will fight the winner. So a lot at stake for the winner of this fight. So now let's jump into the champion, Daniel Dubois, and break him down. First, we're going to go back and look at the, first, I'm sorry, we got to look at the dimensions between the two. That's a new thing I'm doing with the breakdown videos. So the dimensions, first records, you got Dubois 22-2 and Parker at 35-3. Dubois is coming in the favorite, a moderate favorite, with Parker being a slight underdog. Dubois is 27, Parker is 33. They both weigh around the same. Their last fight, they both weighed around the same thing, which is about 248, 247. Dubois has a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. So he's just a little bit bigger of a heavyweight, and he's definitely he's got the younger side at 6 years younger. So that's significant. Now, so as I said, let's jump into Dubois and look at his last 3 fights that date back to December of 23 on the Day of Reckoning card, which was kind of Riyadh season's debut, as he battled Jarrell Miller. Now, he was coming back off of that fight with Usyk, where that controversial low blow landed, and then Usyk got up, and dominated Dubois the remainder of the fight and stopped him. And a lot of people felt Dubois had quit in that fight and were questioning his heart. In this one against Miller, who was undefeated, he outworked Miller, out-hustled him, and ended up stopping Miller with about 8 seconds left in the final 10th round and really shook off some of those haters. But then he went into the June 1st 5 versus 5 card. He went in against Filip Hrgović, who was the undefeated IBF mandatory #1 contender. The vacant IBF interim title was on the line, and he was a heavy underdog going into this fight. Now, nobody thought he was going to win this fight, and he went in and just shook off all doubters as he opened up a cut over Hrgovic's eye, and then just busted him up from there. Beat him up, busted him up, and after 8 rounds, the fight was waved off due to the cut, and he would win by TKO and become the IBF interim heavyweight champ. Then about a month or two later, Usyk decided to vacate the IBF title because he was tired of dealing with the IBF's bullshit about fighting instead of being able to hold on to the undisputed title and fight Tyson Fury in a rematch. He gave up the belt. Dubois was upgraded to full champ, but then he signed on for the fight with Anthony Joshua in September, who was the mandatory challenger, and it was on the Riyadh season all UK card, and Hrgović was coming in. Joshua was coming in a sizable favorite against Dubois. And there wasn't a lot of people picking Dubois to win this fight. And Dubois, again, showed his heart, his will. He turned in the best performance of his career as he dominated Joshua, putting him down four times en route to a 5th-round knockout win as he would retain the title and really solidify himself as the world champ. So he signed on for the fight with Parker, but after Usyk beat Fury in the rematch, he jumped in the ring and said he wants the rematch, and Usyk said, all right, let's go. So Dubois is coming into this fight on a hot streak. He's the younger fighter. He's very hungry, and he's the favorite going in, and I think he's riding that wave and coming in fully confident and really believing in himself. I think he wants that rematch with Usyk, very badly, and I think he's coming into this fight to win. I think he really wants this one. So what does he need to do to defeat Joseph Parker? I think he needs to use the youth and the and his his overall ability to counter. He doesn't need to slug it out, but I do think he needs to use his slight height and reach advantage. He's got a 2-inch reach and he's got the 1-inch height advantage. I think he needs to use that. He fights like a taller guy, and Parker fights like a smaller heavyweight. Parker's going to try to cut off the angles and try to land those shots. And I think a strong jab, and if he can land, hit him early with some big power shots, he can be effective. But he needs to be in great shape. He needs to be ready to go 12 hard rounds. And that's the good thing about him is he has went deep into fights before, and he's coming in the younger fighter. He trains really hard. So I think I think Daniel Dubois can defeat Joseph Parker if he just mixes in the boxing punching, doesn't just go for broke, because I think that's what Parker wants. And you got to remember the Deontay Wilder fight, the way Parker just broke him down, and Zhilei Zhang, he waited for them to attack and then he counterpunched, but he also got on the inside and kind of smothered their attack, and Dubois does not want to let that happen. So combinations on the inside and the jab. Now, can Daniel Dubois win this fight by knockout? Well, he's got 22 wins with 21 knockouts, and Parker's been hurt before. Now, here's the thing. Parker has only been stopped against Joe Joyce, but that means he is stoppable, though. He did get hurt against Zhilei Zhang, so I definitely think that he can win this fight by knockout, Daniel Dubois. Now, can he win a decision? Decision is going to be tough because Parker, I think, stylistically, it's he can compete. I do think he can win a decision, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout if he does win. Now, what's more likely if Dubois beats Parker? Is it a knockout or a decision? And I think it's like 60-40 in favor of a knockout. I think if Dubois walks out of this one, it's going to be by a knockout if he does. So what does a victory mean for Daniel Dubois? It's not going to be the biggest win of his career, but it's going to lead to the biggest fight of his career, which would be undisputed against Alexander Usyk in a rematch to avenge one of his losses. So this is a huge fight, and it's on a huge card. Excuse me. And he has fought on 3 consecutive Riyadh season cards. He's fought 4 major world fights, in his last 4 fights. So he He's comfortable. He's young. He knows what's at stake, and he's hot right now. So I really do believe a win means everything to his career. It's going to really put him in great position to gain some revenge against Usyk. So what does a loss mean for Daniel Dubois here? A loss would be devastating. It really would. It'd be devastating, but again, he's still young enough to bounce back. But I think it really takes him out of the possibility of a rematch with Usyk, you know, and he's got to start over, which he has time for that, but he doesn't get the shot at undisputed, in my opinion. So a loss does hurt him in this fight, but I don't think a lot of people would be surprised if he loses because Parker's a good heavyweight, but a loss definitely hurts Daniel Dubois in the hot streak that he's been on. So now let's switch over to the challenger, the former WBO champion, the current WBO interim heavyweight champion, Joseph Parker, and break him down. So coming into this fight, we got to go back to the last three for Joseph Parker, and they date back to his last three fights date back to October of 23 when he defeated a guy named Simon Keane by a third round TKO in that one. He was that was part of his 3-fight win streak following his last defeat to Joe Joyce when he got stopped in October of 22. So this was a year removed. It was his third fight, and he got that win, which led to his next one in December, just less than 2 months later in December of 23 on the Riyadh season Day of Reckoning card. He would get the co-feature against Deontay Wilder. He was coming in a big underdog, as most people felt Wilder was going to waste him. They were trying to set up for Wilder and Joshua for a March showdown, and he upset the apple cart when he absolutely dominated Deontay Wilder over 12 rounds, scoring the biggest win of his career still to this date, dominating Wilder in that fight, leaving no doubt. So that was huge. Then he would return about 2.5 months later when he would take on Zhilei Zhang and challenge him for the WBO interim title. Zhang came in the favorite this time. And this time Parker just did his thing. He allowed, he took a couple knockdowns in that fight. He got hurt once. I think the other one was more of a flash knockdown. But he weathered the storm and he counterpunched and he boxed well against Zhang and scored a hard-fought but deserving 12-round majority decision and took the WBO interim title. He would take the rest of the year off waiting for a big opportunity, and now he's coming into this fight almost a year removed from the fight with Zhang to take on Parker, but to take on Dubois for the title, but it has been 7 years since he's competed for a heavyweight championship. And now he's ready to go. He wants this fight badly. He's definitely hungry, and he absolutely believes he can pull off the victory as the underdog in this one and become the heavyweight champ, a 2-time heavyweight world champion. So what does Joseph Parker need to do to win this fight against Daniel Dubois? And he needs to be in great shape, ready for 12, which he always is. That's a thing that he has an advantage here, is going rounds. Parker's not a big power guy, but he does have good power. But he's not a huge power guy. He doesn't rely on that. He boxes a lot. And Andy Lee has really turned this guy's style around. He really has, and made it to where it's an entertaining heavyweight boxing style, but he needs to cut the ring off, with Parker and with Dubois and try to smother him. He does the way he did against Wilder. Smother that offense of his. Don't let him get those big shots off to where he can extend his punches and try to avoid getting hurt, because Dubois is a big, big power guy. If he can do that, I think he can be successful and possibly win this fight. So, can Joseph Parker defeat Daniel Dubois by knockout? I think he can. I think he can catch Dubois. Dubois, has been hurt before. I think he can catch him if he hits him clean. And I think he could also possibly wear him down and stop him in the late rounds, because both his knockout losses, Dubois, have come in that style to Joe Joyce when he got stopped late in that fight. And then in a fight that he was winning, and then against Alexander Usyk, he got stopped in the late rounds, in the 9th round of that fight. So yeah, I think Parker can win the fight by knockout. Now, can Parker win a decision? Yeah, I think he can. I think he can win a decision in this one. If Joseph Parker wins this fight, what's more likely, a knockout or a decision? And I have to lean towards a decision. I think it's about 70-30, 80-20, that if Parker's victorious, it'll be by a decision. So, what does a victory mean for Joseph Parker right here? It probably ends up becoming the biggest win of his career, in my opinion. Because the Deontay Wilder win, Wilder's been past it for a while now. And it wasn't for a world title. And I think defeating Dubois, especially if it's convincing, I think that'll pass up any win that he had previously in his career. So, and it's going to lead to, I really do believe it's going to lead to Alexander Usyk for undisputed. So a victory here to become a 2-time heavyweight champ would be monstrous. It'd be the biggest one of his career. So what does a loss mean for Joseph Parker if he loses this fight? It depends on how he loses. Parker, if he loses a close one here, if he battles, I don't think it's going to really shake him that much. I think he'll be back. But if he goes out there and gets wasted, like if Danny Dubois dominates him and stops him, it's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. But that's definitely going to be devastating for him if he gets like dominated in this fight. Okay, so now the final question on this fight that I have is it better for boxing if Daniel Dubois wins this fight, or is it better for boxing if Joseph Parker becomes the new heavyweight champ? And I absolutely believe it's better for boxing if Dubois wins. And the reason being is Dubois is a younger, very entertaining heavyweight with a ton of power. I mean, 22-2, 21 knockouts. And he has bounced back in such an impressive way from when he got stopped a few years ago against Joe Joyce, and then the way he got stopped against Alexander Usyk. But it kind of really putting him back into that showdown with Usyk, especially after the controversy of that Beltline shot. That I still say that I thought it was a clean shot, but I don't blame the referee for calling it in the moment. You got to stick with your original call. And so I really believe that, Daniel Dubois does have something to say and something to provide. And that's 6 extra years that he has over Parker to prove himself and to bounce back the way he has is just monstrous. It's huge, and then you even look at both of his losses, even against Joe Joyce, he was winning that fight on 2 of the 3 cards. He's winning that fight when Joe Joyce stops him. And then, that just goes right there. And then the other loss came at the hands of Usyk, an all-time great fighter, so there's really nothing to shake his head about it. And he lost, he lost the fight to Joyce when he was 22, 23 years old. And he loses the fight to Usyk when he's 25, he's 27 barely. So he's got plenty of time. He's the youngest guy outside of the undefeated guys like Iltama and stuff. And I just think, Dubois has, it's way better for boxing. But if Joseph Parker wins, his story is awesome as well. Don't get me wrong. He's got a great comeback story. 7 years without fighting for a world title, defeating power punchers, Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. Those are big. Those are big time wins right there. And I think, that'll be huge for his career. It'd be a nice story. So definitely not bad for boxing if Parker wins. But now finally, what is my prediction? Is Daniel Dubois going to retain the IBF heavyweight title, or is Joseph Parker going to become the IBF heavyweight champion? This is not an easy fight for me to pick, but there's something about Daniel Dubois that I have always seen that is special. And I really absolutely 150% believe he is going to win this fight. I think he's going to figure out a way to stop Joseph Parker in the middle to later rounds. In terms of he's just going to land something big. I think it's going to be a close contested battle between the two. I think they might even trade hurting each other. But I look at Dubois' style compared to Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang. Wilder is really kind of that one-trick pony looking for a big shot. That's all he did in that fight. And Parker ate his ass alive. Well, that's not Dubois. Dubois can box and punch. A combination of both, and he's not overlooking Parker in this one. He knows what he's getting right in front of him. Deontay Wilder was overlooking Parker. Then you look at Zhilei Zhang. Well, Zhang's not as good of a boxer, in my opinion. He was kind of headhunting, and he faded down the stretch. I mean, if he would have had a gas tank in that second half of the fight, I think he might end up getting to Parker and stopping him. Well, Dubois is young, and he'll have the gas tank. He's 27. Zhang was 40 when they fought. Big age difference there. So for me, that really stands out. And I really think that Dubois' style, being the boxer puncher, is going to play a major difference in this fight from what Parker's used to seeing. And I think Daniel Dubois is going to win this fight. I think he's going to knock out Joseph Parker in the middle to later rounds of an entertaining heavyweight battle and retain the IBF heavyweight title. But Joseph Parker is a very live underdog. I will not be surprised at all if he can pull this one out and beat Daniel Dubois, if he has the answer to Daniel Dubois and he becomes the new champion. But it's going to be a really good, interesting battle, a great style clash that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And that's it. That's what I got. That is my Dubois versus Parker breakdown and prediction video, as they will collide for the IBF Heavyweight Championship of the World on Saturday, February 22nd, in the co-feature of the monstrous DAZN pay-per-view Last Crescendo card that is headlined by Artur Beterbiev and Dimitri Bivol for the undisputed light heavyweight championship of the world. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing, and you've been hit with the truth.